50,000 plus people, the craziest cars in the world, and it's all happening in Europe. Of course, in Warsaw, Poland, home to the final round of the Drift Masters Championship. It's located in a soccer, or for my Europeans, football stadium, where they tear up all the grass and turn it into one of the craziest drift stadiums in the world. It can seat over 50,000 people, and it's on every drifter's bucket list to go to because it gets pretty friggin' rowdy. And today, we are going to be learning how to drift on it, because even though it may seem like a figure eight, there's a lot of nuances with the course that you may not get. So let's get going and let's take a look at the final round of Drift Masters. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the stadium name because I know I'm going to butcher it and I'm going to get bullied for it. I'd rather not. So to get to the course, it's pretty sick. You got to go through a little tunnel here, and then you're met with 50,000 animated characters. As you can see, they're all happy to be here, ready to see some pretty sick drifting. And I know for a fact my PC is dying right now because there are 50,000 animated people within the stadium. So let's get to it. So these pillars are marking the starting line, and you start at the double white line. Also, before you mention it, if you want the link to this track, it'll be down below in the description, or you can download it on the public Virtual Drift Masters app. So as I was saying, we start at the double white line. The lead car lines up on the right, chase car lines up on the left, and then you accelerate through this left-hander. And here you want to make sure your car doesn't flick and start to drift, because there is a big no-no when it comes to three motion drifts. You just want to drive around the corner. So use that clutch wisely and make sure to slip it so you don't start drifting and get a big deduction. So when you flick into this corner, it's super easy to carry too much speed or to just wash out wide because you don't get on throttle soon enough. And what that leads to is your rear end smacking the yellow part of this wall and you having a bad day. So I like to flick mid-track, let the car come out, and then get on throttle right here towards the end, marked by this G2A sign before the start line, so I can begin to ride this first outer zone. It's a beautiful arc. It's actually arced pretty well. It doesn't stick out. And you ride it fully outside. Don't try to shortcut it. Just fully fulfill it. From there, you might get confused by that outside zone, but that comes later. You want to come into this first inside clip. Now here, I don't like to fully go too inside. I treat it more as a touch and go. Have the angle, come through this clip, maybe have your bumper just clip it, but ideally you'd want it to be barely touching it. Then from there, you transition quickly, got to flick the wheel here, and get to this second inner clip. Now here, this is not a clip. This is literally a concrete barrier marked by this lovely track worker here. You want to place your bumper here. Now coming out of this zone, you don't want to be too far track right, because when you transition, you try to get into this second outer zone, you'll be too far track right, you transition, you smack the wall, right? So you want to come out of this and you want to push out of this zone. So stay somewhat mid-track and then transition. It will be a lot easier, and that should line your car up perfectly to be on this outside zone and to fulfill it completely. It is the longest outside zone, and we have an opening here, which is our start line. It's super easy to push your car outwards and then smack the gray part of the wall here, and of course you're gonna have a bad day if you smack the wall. So use your forward momentum, use all of the throttle you can, push yourself through this zone. It's super long. You go over the start line. That's the great thing about a figure eight, is it overlaps onto itself, right? So keep going, and then you reach the end of outer zone 2. From there, you want to push off the wall. Follow these tire marks. The tire marks are your friend in this game, and you want to hit outer zone 3. Now here, again, you don't want to be too far outside. You want to place your tires really on this outer edge of the box. On this white line, you're going to be real golden here. If you're too far wide, your transition into this next corner is going to feel quite weird. So push off of OZ3, and then you want to go more track left. Now, we see these cones here, so marked by, 3 yellow VDM cones. That is a no-no zone. This is a mistake I used to have. I used to treat this as a clipping point. Try to get the front of the car as close to these cones as possible. You don't want to do that. You want to push off this zone and go track left and transition just before these cones at about here. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I'm going to smack the wall. But don't worry, once you transition, your car will naturally want to float inside. Now, what that will do is it'll line you up perfectly for the 4th outer zone and the 5th outer zone. Here, they are both back to back. You just want to ride these on the outside line. You don't want to shortcut it at all. You just want to ride this outside line. It's really, really satisfying once you get it down. It does take a couple tries though. I will say the biggest tip I have coming into this zone is you want to stay track left. You don't want to be track right because it makes it pretty awkward. You don't want to be close to the cones. You want to stay track left. And once you transition, you'll stay outside. And once you are outside, just lots of throttle, a little bit of left foot brake to stable out the car, and just ride this wall all the way through. It feels super, super satisfying once you get it. And then once you're done with this final zone, that's the end of the run, right? So it seems like pretty straightforward because it's just a figure 8. However, once you start driving it, you'll realize that it's a lot more difficult than you think it is. The walls aren't as they seem they are, and there's a lot of just nuances with this track. So from here, let's take a look at it from a driving perspective, and I'll slow it down so we can really nitpick how I was driving the course. So as I promised, let's further break this John down. So once we get out of the start gate, we want to initiate again at that mid track, and then we begin to flick. I like to have a little bit of e-brake as well as a little bit of foot brake, and it sets myself up really well for this outer zone. Now, if I stay on the left foot brake a little bit to stable out the car, it sets me up well for these next 2 inner clips. And again, here, I'm not super track right. I'm still a little mid track, because if I'm too track right, I'm going to slam into this wall. And if you slam into this first wall, you'll slam into the second wall or in between. And then your run's basically over, which sets me up well for outer zone 3. And again, here you want to push off the zone. You don't want to go too wide, and you want to use that momentum to push yourself outwards into outer zone 4 and 5. And again, it is a little awkward at first, but after a little bit of practice, you should be able to get this down nice and well. And that's how you drift Masters Poland. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and share this with someone who has some skill issue, who can't really get around this course well. Or if you found this video helpful, also share with your buddies. With that said, I hope you enjoyed. I release videos Mondays and Thursdays here on YouTube, so I'll catch you in the next one.